Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so are we all on board with that? You've got to be able to explain how these facts about meaning are related to more basic facts. Okay, thank you. No, that's it, thank you. Right. So Putnam says, well, could you connect the facts about meaning to facts about mental images or thoughts? How does a language have meaning? Does a language have meaning by its words being connected to mental images or to underlying thoughts? What's your hunch? We've been doing this for, what, 2 months now? Come on. You must have some kind of hunch. Thanks. Yes? Yeah, mental images themselves have to mean something. A mental image is kind of like a photograph, right? And just as you can have a causal theory or a description theory for photographs, you could have a causal theory or a description theory or something for mental images, but you need some kind of story about how the thing is working. Yep. And if a thought is just words going through your head, then you've got to explain how those words through your head get hooked up to reality, come to be true or false. Yeah? Here's Putnam. Thought words and mental pictures do not intrinsically represent what they are about. Concepts cannot be identical with mental objects of any kind. Yeah. You've got to find some story in terms of what, physics or biology or some natural science. You could say, well, there just are facts about meaning and reference, but they can't be reduced to anything else. But what Putnam's saying is we have to explain how meaning and understanding can be part of the natural world. We need to know how it can be that one part of the natural world is about another. So this is kind of like the mind-body problem. This is actually an aspect of the mind-body problem. The mind-body problem. Put up your hand if you've heard of the mind-body problem. Okay, good. Right. Okay, so the mind-body problem is often stated in terms of consciousness, right? You have, as you look around you, you have not just the biological triggerings of your the cells in your retina and so on, but you have that frisson of sensory experience as you look at all the keen, excited faces around you, yes? Bursting with intelligence and curiosity. That make it worth trudging in on this kind of morning. Yeah? Yes? Try to burst with curiosity and intelligence. Okay, so then the question is, these frissons, these ziffs that sensory experience gives you, where are they to be found in the brain? Yes? That's the mind-body problem. Yep. So that's like the meaning-body problem. How can we explain how meaning and understanding can be part of the natural world? Yep. And one traditional, I say, I mean, it goes back at least to the 1980s, is that actually the way you explain what consciousness is by connecting it to representation. Consciousness is always a way of representing the world. And the way you explain how representing is part of the natural world is by giving a causal theory of representation. So at this point, we're in a position to solve all the outstanding problems in philosophy, right? Because we explain representation in causal terms, and we've got some idea how that's going to be done. Yes? Where's that fresh enthusiasm and optimism? You know how you would explain representation in causal terms, yes? Can you put up your hand up if you think the answer is yes? And if you think the answer is no, I have no idea how you'd explain representation in causal terms. And if you have no idea what the question is? Mainly causal terms. Sufficiently causal terms that there's no really significant residue of the mind-body problem or the meaning-body problem. Okay, so let me do that again. You're going to, you know how you would explain representation principally in causal terms. We did it for names, we did it for natural kinds, we looked at it for colour. What more do you want? Boy, you guys are tough. Right? I mean, what does it take? We can explain representation in causal terms, yes? And then we could go on and explain consciousness in terms of representation. Because after all, being conscious of all the people around you is a matter of representing them. So we can solve not just, we can solve the mind-body problem, we can solve the problem of how there can be meaning in the natural world, and we can solve the problem of skepticism, all by appeal to the causal theory of representation. Well, that inspirational note, right? Okay, let's look at how twin Earth figures in this. Remember twin Earth? Twin Earth? Yes, very good, okay. So we've got Oscar 1 on Earth and Oscar 2 on twin Earth. And Oscar 1 and Oscar 2 are in the same physical states. Their biology and so on is just the same. But the words used by Oscar 1 and Oscar 2 have different meanings. Right? When Oscar 1 uses water, he's referring to XYZ. I mean, he's referring to H2O. When Oscar 2 uses water, he's referring to XYZ. Yeah? So the words mean different things, but the inside the head element is just the same. So that thing that's inside the head, the brain stuff for Oscar 1 and Oscar 2, that doesn't constitute understanding or meaning. Yeah? That you just get from the twin Earth case. So there must be a second element. I mean, nobody's saying that brains aren't even relevant to understanding or meaning. Brains must matter a whole lot, but it's just that brains are not enough. So there must be two parts here. There must be the inside the head part fixing meaning, and the outside the head part. Yeah, a twin Earth case just gives you that. That just drops out of a twin Earth case. Because the outside the head part is what's different between Earth and twin Earth. So that outside the head part, what is that going to be? Sorry? What fixes the reference? Yes, and what will that be? A causal chain, yes. Right, very good. Yes? The underlying structure, that's right. The underlying structure, but it's going to be that underlying structure that matters because it's hooked up to a causal chain. Yep. Connected to the brain. Yep. So you can just read it off twin Earth cases. You can analyze meaning or representation in terms of two elements. There's a factor that's inside the head, the brain configuration, and there's a factor that's outside the head, something causal or contextual. What structure is out there that you're causally connected to? What people are out there that you're causally connected to? That shows you how to give a reduction of meaning. That shows you how to explain meaning in other terms. Let's look at the analysis of what has to be inside the head, and let's look at the analysis of what has to be outside the head. Neither of these on their own is enough for representation. So from a twin Earth case, you can just read off the right way to analyze meaning in naturalistic terms, in terms of the natural sciences. Look at the natural science bit that's inside the head, look at the natural science bit that's outside the head, and then explain how they're plugged up together to give you representation. Yeah? So twin Earth cases are very powerful like that, right? They seem to show you that. Now, we only looked at twin Earth cases for natural kind terms, but of course you could have twin Earth cases for names of individual objects. Like if you and your twin say, the campanile, are you referring to the same thing or to a different thing? To a different thing. And is what's inside your head the same or different? It's the same. Yeah? So there must be some causal or contextual element fixing what's constituting you referring to the campanile. Yep. Spectrum inversion, with spectrum inversion, if everything was exactly the same, That's right.
Like in this case, even if it was the case that Oscar 1 and 2 didn't have different types of water in them, then they could have the same thing. They could have exactly the same thing as well.
For which term? Sorry, for the Campanile?
Yeah, exactly. Because they're not really in the same phase state, are they?
Why not?
Because one of them's got mostly X, Y, Z in it.
Ah, okay. That's very good about the water and XYZ. Yeah. Okay, is it clear what he's saying? This is a really regrettable point. Perfectly correct, right? How can Oscar 1 and Oscar 2 be in the same brain state if one's brain is mostly made of XYZ and the other one's brain is mostly made of water? Okay. It is difficult. I think that addressing this doesn't affect the main point, yeah. But it takes a certain amount of talking, and it's a good question whether in the end this is a really deep point or if it's if it just adds some complication to the story. Suppose we drained my head of water right now and replaced it all with XYZ, right? They said, quick, we've got to do a substitution, yeah? Then I guess just replacing the water with XYZ would not of itself make for any difference in my brain, in my mental states. Yeah? If you did that, you might have saved my life. You wouldn't necessarily have maybe made it the case that I forgot. I could no longer think about my mother, or I could no longer think about my dear old dog, or anything like that. You see what I mean? So I'd still be having the same thoughts and feelings as before, even if you filled me up with XYZ. Yeah?
I guess I feel like it could be different.
It could be different. Well, yes. Well, remember that XYZ and H2O are completely indistinguishable at normal temperatures and pressures. You have to heat them up to something like the temperature of the sun to really see the chemical differences between them. And this is for technical reasons that I don't really want to go into here. Yeah, I don't really have the technical vocabulary. Yeah, so the part of the background here is the idea that, okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, they're not exactly the same. But what's going on inside the head, any differences inside the head between Oscar 1 and Oscar 2 are not the kind of differences that make a difference to their mental states. If you lobotomized Oscar 1, that would make a big difference to his mental states. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. If you functionally rewire Oscar 1's brain, that will make a big difference to his mental states. Yeah, but just substituting water for XYZ, that might be just like putting, I don't know, some gasoline substitute in the tank instead of gasoline. Yeah, that's the idea anyway. Yeah, but there's more to say in this. Yeah.
No, I was just about the same thing.
That's okay. You can gripe about technical points. That's what I do.
Well, it just seems like any plausible picture of how we identify chemicals. If you're going to say that these are like identical in all of their like macroscopic and microscopic properties.
Yeah.
Except for these like.
What happens in extreme situations? Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I just can't make sense of how that relevant difference would arise. Like if, see, I'm having a hard time expressing this, but like, I can't conceive the possibility of two compounds which are identical in almost every single respect, but except for variance in behaviors at extremely high temperatures. But like, the reasons for the differences in their behaviors at extremely high temperatures will result in some other changes.
They would result in some other changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just like the chemistry background.
Yep.
It's like really fighting against this.
Yes. Okay. Yes. No. I mean, it's fine to let the real world intrude at some points in these in these abstract discussions. Remember what we need, though. I mean, the question is, can we back off a bit from saying completely identical in all macroscopic respects except for what goes on in these extreme situations? I think all we really need to say is the differences between them don't show up in any situations that regular speakers regularly encounter. So it might be that backstage in a chemistry lab, if you just add the hydrochloric acid, you can see big differences. or if you just put in the barium-90 solution or whatever it is, then you can suddenly see a big difference. Yeah, but it's just that doesn't affect ordinary people. That doesn't really affect what regular people mean by what they say.
Well, but my concern is that the background considerations might affect the identity of the person.
Yes.
But certainly, in ordinary people observing water in XYZ,
Yeah.
they feel the same way about it. But if we're going to say if we replace one person's brain, or replace all the water in one person's brain with XYZ, then
Okay.
we can
Let me make. I think it's really worth thinking through this because it's going to occur, if you think seriously about this stuff for any length of time, this will occur to you if you see what I mean, and it's worth just thinking. Let's just do one more step here. Oscar 1 and Oscar 2. Oscar 1 is well, if it's Campbell 1 and Campbell 2, say, right? Campbell 1 is thinking about all these people. Campbell 2 is thinking about a whole bunch of people on Twin Earth. Yep. Now, what you say, what you and your colleague are saying is. Maybe if you swap out the H2O for XYZ, that itself makes a big difference to mental state. Now, suppose we just roll with the flow of that one, right? I just give you that, yeah? Maybe it does. Maybe the XYZ makes me kind of high, or maybe it makes me kind of woozy, or something, or makes it even harder for me to concentrate, something like that, yeah? But what would be truly astonishing would be if swapping out my water for XYZ suddenly meant I was thinking not about you guys, but about all those people in Twin Earth. How could that be? I mean, that seems absolutely bizarre. Yeah, I mean, at that point you just have lost your grip in chemical reality, it seems to me. I mean, how could the chemistry be doing that, connecting me up to these people on some planet I never heard of? Yeah. It might make me kind of dizzy or something. Yeah, that's all right. But making me able to think about all these people and not able to think about all you guys, chemistry couldn't do that. Yeah. So whatever's making the shift here, it can't be this inside the head factor. Okay, I don't want to steamroll on that line of descent. There is more to say, so come back to it if you think of another angle. Okay. Okay, so where you've got twin Earth cases, you've got a strategy for reducing meaning and representation. You say I got the inside the head bit, I got the outside the head bit. I just analyze meaning in terms of those two bits. So if you can get, but you can get twin Earth cases for terms referring to individual objects. Presumably, you could get twin Earth cases for terms like kettle or automobile. Yeah? I mean, maybe you go to twin Earth and there are things there that look just like cars, but they're actually not cars, they're kind of a plant. You can drive them about, but they're not really cars. You know, they're organic creatures. Yeah, very handy. Different evolutionary background. Yes? Couldn't that happen? Take my word for it. That could happen. Colours, we'll come back to colours a bit at the end today. Can you get a twin Earth case for colours? The colours all look the same in twin Earth, but they're not actually the same. They're quite different. Locke thought you could, but yeah? You don't buy it, yeah. I don't actually buy it either. But I mean, it seems to me, and as Wittgenstein said, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's a rabbit. And that's all right for ducks and rabbits. But for colours, if it looks red and it seems red from all angles, what more do you want? Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, but wait a minute. Twin Earth has got packages of light wavelengths that are never encountered on Earth. That's right, we don't see them on Earth, that's right. But you do see them on twin Earth. Oh, your visual system is perfectly adapted to them. If you see what I mean. It's just... Sorry? Well, you know, you've got your current body is such that were you to encounter the twin Earth physical package, you would get sensations of redness. Okay. Yes, that's right. Then what you're seeing in twin Earth is not red, because it's not like the reds you get on Earth. I don't actually buy it either. Okay, but this is an important point, and I hope to come on today that there are really intriguing questions about colour and causal theories of reference that I'll come back to. What about social relations? What about friendship? Yep. Good, yeah, it should bother you, yeah. There's no such thing as red. No, that's an important line of thought. Let me come on to that and try and set the stage for discussing that a little bit. Okay, but it seems to me in general, you can have twin Earth cases whenever you get lookalikes. The thing about red is it's hard to get a lookalike of red. Yeah. The thing about friendship, for example, is it's hard to get a lookalike for friendship. You might, I mean, on twin Earth, maybe they all seem very friendly, but they're actually ruthless, calculating individuals who don't really know what friendship is, but they've just decided it's best to put on this facsimile. But it's not quite clear how far you can push that. But where you can get lookalikes, like with tigers, or with water, or with gold, then you can have a twin Earth case. Because in twin Earth, all that's happened is that the entire planet is full of lookalikes. Yeah? And then the term is referring to, yeah? Okay, okay. Yeah, you can't have twin Earth for shapes. Yeah, it looks like an Earth triangle, but it's not really. Yeah. It's hard to know how that one would go, isn't it? Yeah. How would it go? Yeah, the wheels look round, but they're not really round. But if they're rolling, how could they be square? Yeah. Okay, let's leave that as a let's do more than that, actually. Your homework exercise for Wednesday is think more about which cases you can get twin Earth for and which cases you can't. Right? Start with shapes, and we'll do that on Wednesday. Okay? Okay, you got the exercise? Okay. What about headaches or a feeling of bliss? In twin Earth, they get things that feel like headaches, so it feels like bliss, but it's not. That's not bliss. Look at the chemical structure. Okay. I don't think. Well, anyway. Okay. So let's just move on, and we'll put all that stuff on hold for Wednesday, unless anyone has any comments on this now. Yeah? We'll come back to this on Wednesday. Okay, so the anti-skeptical thing is, skepticism is framed as a causal question. Are the causes of my experiences what I take them to be? Yes, that's a general way to put skepticism. The causes of my experiences could be quite other than I take them to be, and everything would be just the same for me. So the traditional way of setting up skepticism is to have some big list of alternative possible causes. So you seem to be seeing a dagger, but it is but a creature of the heat-oppressed brain. Or it could be an evil demon making you have that experience of a dagger. Or it could be madness, or an evil scientist, or vat-tending machinery. Any of that stuff, right? These are all alternative causes for you having the experiences you seem to be having right now. And then the argument is, you don't know which it is. Yep. So the idea is, maybe the causes of our thoughts are quite different to what we take them to be. And in that case, if the causes of your thoughts are quite different to what you take them to be, then most of your thoughts would be false. Follow me very closely here. This is the key thing the skeptic is saying. And you see the key assumption here. The key assumption here is you could be having the same thoughts no matter what was going on out there. That's what Descartes is thinking, right? If those of you who remember Descartes, that he's thinking, well, no matter what's going on out there, no matter if it's all a dream or whatever, My thoughts over here, that's what I'm certain of, that's what I really hang on to. But can you really keep steady the contents of your thoughts while varying their causes? What does the causal theory of reference say about this? Does the causal theory of reference say, yes, you can keep steady of the contents of your thoughts while varying their causes? Or does it say, no, causal chains are essential to your thoughts having the contents they do? That's right, the causal theory would say no. Put up your hand if you think the answer is no. And if you think the answer is yes, very good. I mean, I told you the answer first, but on the face of it, that's what's going on, right? The classical skeptical picture is throughout various skeptical hypotheses, you can keep steady the bit that's inside the head. But the implication of twin earth cases is that what this bit inside your head is representing depends on causal or contextual factors. Right? That was the whole point about twin earth cases. So when these change, what's being represented changes. So as the causes change, what you're representing changes. So it's going to change systemically so that your representations all come out true anyhow. It's causal relations to your surroundings that are generating the standards of rightness or wrongness. That's what a causal theory tells you. The brain, so here's Putnam. Suppose you've got a brain in a vat. Well, the brain in a vat's not thinking about real trees when it thinks there's a tree in front of me. Why not? Okay, class, here's an exercise. Why does Putnam say this? If the brain in the vat produces the signs, there is a tree in front of me. Could that be representing trees? Why not? Yeah, it's not causally connected to trees, right? The brain in the vat never saw a tree in its life. Yeah, you don't get. It's pretty generally known that you don't get trees in vats, right? I mean, so how could it have been causally connected to a tree? So it can't be thinking about a tree when it says there's a tree in front of me. So what is it thinking about? Yeah. The image. It might. Why would it be thinking about the image? I mean, if you or I say there's a tree in front of me, we're not thinking about an image. So why would the brain be thinking about an image? Yes, that's right. Okay, very good. So there's electrical impulses that you're causally connected to that are producing the sign or the image, right? But so it's what you're causally connected to that you're thinking about, yeah? So it's the electrical impulses that you're thinking about, yep.
It seems completely wrong to say it's thinking about neurons firing.
All right. No, I think that's a very important line of thought. I do want to come on to try and do justice to that. But just read it off the causal theory of reference. What makes a photograph of a particular goose? Yep. Not the phenomenal content. It's the causal chain that makes it a photograph of a particular goose. So what makes an image of a tree or an electrical impulse? It's the causal chain, not the pixel by pixel content of the thing. Yeah, that's the argument. So just mechanically read it off the causal theory. What is the brain in the vat thinking about? It's thinking about patterns of electrical impulses in the vat. Yep. It could work like that, yeah, I agree, it could work like that. If someone had intentionally programmed the computer that way, you could get really interesting questions about which causal chains matter here, yeah. But suppose that that's not the way it works. Suppose the vat-tending machinery is just all there is. Suppose there aren't any trees at all in the universe. There's just a big vat-tending machinery and some brains bobbing about, yeah. Then, like an apple barrel, yeah, no trees at all. Yeah. One, 2, 3. Yeah, yep. I'm not quite sure who's raising questions. Yeah. If the brain starts describing the tree? No, I guess it would be right. Because look, suppose it says, this tree is a plant. What does plant mean? Well, plant has its meaning fixed by causal chain, hooking back to lots of other patterns of electrical impulses in the vat. It will be saying this pattern of electrical impulses is a subset of this larger pattern of electrical impulses, and that's true. Yep. Yep. Yes. If we're a brain that are doing this, yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, we can find out in a kind of a priori way that the causal theory of reference is correct. Yep. We can do that for brains, for ourselves. I mean, of course, it wouldn't be right to say that we are brains in vats. I mean, you couldn't truly say I'm a brain in a vat, because after all, suppose you take a brain in a vat and ask, what does its word vat stand for? Does it stand for regular vats? No, it stands for whatever pattern of impulses causes it to use the word vat. And what does its word brain stand for? It doesn't stand for brains, because it's the only brain, right? So it's not causally connected. It's when it uses brain, it's not because it's causally connected to a whole bunch of brains. It uses the word brain because that's causally connected to a whole set of patterns of electrical impulses. So when it says, I'm a brain in a vat, that's false. Yeah, in the language it speaks. So it couldn't be right for you or me to say, I'm a brain in a vat. Here's Putnam. There is a close causal connection between the use of the word tree in vat English, right, what the brain speaks, the language the brain speaks. It looks just like English, but it's vat English because the causal connections are all different. So just as in twin earth, when the causal connections are different, that means you get a difference in meaning. In vat English, the causal connections are different, so you get a difference in meaning. There are causal connections between the use of the word tree in vat English and the presence of trees in the image, the presence of electrical impulses of a certain kind, and the presence of certain features in the machine's program. So in causal theories of reference, this is the question someone just asked, the brain is right, not wrong, when it says, there's a tree in front of me. Yeah, because that's all got to be interpreted in terms of the patterns of electrical impulses. So in vat English, all that's required is that the electronic configuration that is currently stimulating it has to be a subset of the whole set of electronic stimulations that normally cause production of there's a tree in front of me. So when it says when it bubbles up, there's a tree in front of me, it's reporting the presence of a particular kind of electrical configuration. And that's correct, yeah, even though there are no trees there at all. So just as, remember this scene from Earth and this scene from twin Earth, yeah? There are ringers on Earth and in twin Earth. So you could be talking about a sunset on Earth and a sunset in twin Earth, and they're quite different phenomena if the causes of the uses of the signs Earth and twin Earth are different. So just that, so in the vat, this is what you get, this is the sensations that the vat subject is having. And when it says, what a beautiful sunset, right? Just as someone in twin Earth can be saying, what a beautiful sunset, and it's not quite talking about the same phenomena as we're talking about, then it's still talking about the thing that usually causes that kind of image. Yep. So you can be sure that you're not a brain in a vat. Yep.
For a brain in a vat, how would you consider like when we say like something isn't what it seems?
Something isn't what it seems.
Yeah.
Yes, right,
How
right.
would something like that work for a brain in a vat? It seems
Yeah.
like, I don't know, that seems sort of weird. Also, like if I'm passing a window and I think there's a man in the window, but it's actually a mannequin.
Very good. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Let's take that example. How would a causal theory of reference for just regular English analyze what you just said? What it's got to say is something like, there's the usual causes of the production of the word man, right? And now a non-standard cause has triggered that use of the word man. Yeah, that's what's happened. So when you've got a non-standard cause, that's what falsity is. Yeah. If I say, yeah.
For the brain in the vat, how did I come up with the thought that it was a man?
Yeah, when the brain in the vat says, that was a man, that was a man, that was a man, in response to whole bunches of, lots of different types of electronic stimulation.
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, a natural way to do this is in terms of Evans and dominant cause. The word man refers to whatever is the dominant cause of your production of the word man, right? So suppose that it's particular patterns of electrical impulses in the vat that are the dominant cause of its uses of the word man. And now some aberrant set of electrical stimulations, also by some deviant route, cause its use of the word man. Well, that's not one of the dominant causes. Therefore, that was false. Yep. So it works just like regular English. Yes?
So I'm trying to imagine a mixed brain in that case.
A mixed brain in that,
Say for like for the first year of your life, you're a
Yes.
full-fledged person, you're
Yeah.
walking around in the external world. The second year of your life, you get all of your internal nervous system taken out and placed in a vat, where you then have
Ah, poignant story, yes.
various
Yeah.
stimuli, and then this just alternates back and forth
Yeah.
Year for year.
Yeah.
It seems like on any given year, you could see a tree in front of you. You would say, there's a tree in front of me. And it's not clear to me how you would make sense of what it means.
Yeah. No, I think it's really good to think about that kind of case. And once you've got going, you can see that there are going to be lots of possible variants you could run with. So that's a great story. But I guess my first reaction is, it's a little bit like the story of Spot, yeah, where you get variation in what's causing the use of the name Spot. You remember dear old Spot? Yeah, you get variation in what's causing the use of the name. And in some cases, you will want to say, even years after the substitution, in some cases you might want to say, well, when you were talking there, you were actually referring to the original Spot. Or when you were talking there, you were referring to the present Spot. You know, we as theorists looking at the situation. And what I mean is, if you and I are reminiscing about the happy days when Spot was first born, or when we first took Spot home, yeah, how Spot could hardly walk then. Spot tried to walk and then fell over, and at that point he captured our hearts. When we're telling these stories, are we talking about the present Spot or the old Spot? Well, it depends exactly what's going on, but it would be, in some cases where it would be natural to say you're talking about the original Spot. And there might be other cases where you want to say, no, we're talking about the new Spot. You see what I mean? I mean, intuition shifts, it seems to me, depending just what the context is of which you're looking for the causal chain. So with your guy who's switching back and forth between the vat and regular life, yeah, sometimes if this guy's saying, I miss my mom, who's he talking about? Is he talking about a particular pattern of vat tending machinery? Or is he talking about an actual human being? Well, it would shift. Yeah, it depends exactly why he's missing mom, or that kind of thing.
I guess my concern is specifically related to the like purported reputation of skepticism.
Yes, right.
Because it does seem like I could be in a world where I was alternately switching between
Right.
that and real life, but it seems like in that world I could truly say I am the brain of that.
Oh, I see. Yes, right. Yeah. I mean, I see what you mean. Okay, if we just whipped your brain out right now and plunged you into a vat, and you shrieked and you said, "Hey, they made me a brain in a vat," yeah, then that would be true. That'd be perfectly true. Yeah. Okay, that I'm happy to give you. Yeah. That must be correct. So yeah, you need to qualify Putnam's hypothesis a little bit. The thing I'd say is that the skeptical scenarios have not usually been quite as careful as that. Skeptical scenarios have been, for all I know, all there is in the entire universe is the vat-tending machinery in the brain. You know, much more radical than this. In your case, requires a kind of background of the normal world, just the way you think it is. So most of that stuff's going on. Yeah, that wasn't the skeptic's idea. The skeptic's idea was maybe none of that stuff, the regular stuff, the other people, the tables, the chairs, maybe none of that stuff was ever going on. You only ever thought it was. Yeah. You're giving me a case where really all that stuff is basically going on. I'm just getting taken out of the loop sometimes. You see what I mean? So it's a pretty residual kind of skepticism that you're left with. It's not the really radical, full-on kind of skepticism that Descartes say was after. Yeah. Okay. Well, you got your homework for next time? Think of twin Earth cases, and we'll carry on with Putnam next time. Okay, thanks, guys.